The Second World War is often remembered for its epic battles and sweeping movements of armies across continents, but for countless soldiers, the fiercest and most persistent enemy was not always the one holding a weapon. It was the cold itself. In the frozen forests of the Ardennes and the vast snow-blanketed expanses of the Eastern Front, winter became a silent, deadly adversary that showed no mercy. The cold crept into every trench and foxhole, seeping through layers of clothing, claiming lives through frostbite, hypothermia, and exhaustion. Survival depended on more than weapons or tactics. It hinged on simple, often overlooked tools, like the coarse, olive-drab wool blanket issued to every soldier. This blanket became a lifeline, a shield against a relentless foe that could not be fought with bullets or bayonets. The cold drained strength, clouded judgment, and turned even the simple act of standing guard into a test of endurance. Water froze solid in canteens. The ground itself became an icy enemy, impossible to dig, unforgiving to sleep on, and always threatening to sap the last bit of warmth from the body. A lost glove or a pair of wet socks could mean the difference between survival and disaster, as frostbite set in quickly and mercilessly. In these brutal conditions, grand strategies and heroic plans faded into the background. Warmth became the only objective that mattered. The struggle was deeply personal, fought minute by minute, inch by inch, as each soldier battled the elements and their own limits. The human body itself became the battlefield, and the wool blanket was more than just gear. It was a symbol of hope and resilience. It was more than equipment. It was a barrier against darkness, a comfort in the night, and often the key to staying alive when all else failed. For many, the difference between life and death was measured in layers of wool, in the simple act of sharing warmth with a comrade. In the relentless war against winter, the humble blanket was a soldier's most trusted ally, a silent partner in the fight for survival. Issuing wool blankets to soldiers was no accident. It was a decision grounded in both scientific understanding and hard-earned experience on the battlefield. Wool's unique fibers trap millions of tiny air pockets, creating powerful insulation that helps retain body heat even in the coldest environments. Unlike cotton, which loses its insulating power when soaked, wool keeps insulating even when wet, a crucial advantage in freezing damp conditions where hypothermia was a constant threat. Wool can absorb up to 30% of its weight in moisture without feeling damp, pulling water away from the skin and helping to keep soldiers dry and warm. The process of absorbing moisture even generates a small amount of heat, countering the chill and providing a subtle but important boost to comfort in harsh weather. Wool is naturally fire-resistant, smoldering rather than igniting, a vital safety feature on the battlefield, especially near open flames or in the chaos of combat. The standard-issue blanket was heavy and scratchy, not designed for comfort, but it worked in mud, rain, and snow, providing reliable protection when it mattered most. It was a low-tech, reliable solution to a life-or-death problem, requiring no batteries or complicated technology, just the right material used wisely. In the harshest conditions, the science of wool proved its worth, time and again saving lives and boosting morale. Nature's armor, adapted for war, became a soldier's shield against the elements, an unsung hero in the fight for survival. The foxhole was both a refuge and a trap, a pit of cold that threatened to sap a soldier's life, night after night. In the biting wind and relentless snow, the earth offered little comfort, and the chill could seep into bones, making every hour a test of endurance. Lying on frozen ground meant certain frostbite, so the wool blanket became a vital tool for survival. It was more than just a cover. It was a barrier between life and the deadly cold, a soldier's first line of defense against the elements. Soldiers learned to insulate themselves by layering the blanket over pine boughs, leaves, or straw scavenged nearby. Anything that could be found in the surrounding woods or fields was pressed into service, turning scraps of nature into life-saving insulation. This improvised mattress trapped air and lifted them off the icy soil, creating a crucial buffer. The air pockets helped slow the transfer of heat, making the difference between shivering all night and getting a few precious hours of rest. The blanket spread atop this base, sealed in warmth and blocked the cold. It was a simple solution, but in the harshest conditions, simplicity often meant survival. Insulation wasn't just comfort, it was survival. Without it, the cold could sap strength, slow reflexes, and even claim lives before the enemy ever arrived. Numb hands and feet meant lost combat effectiveness. A soldier unable to grip a rifle or move quickly was at risk, not just from the cold, but from the enemy as well. Blankets lined foxhole walls, covered entrances, and created microclimates inside. Every layer added a little more warmth, a little more hope. In a world of ice and fear, every soldier knew survival depended on fighting heat loss at every turn. They shared tips, improvised, and worked together to keep the cold at bay. The foxhole became a fortress, and the wool blanket its rampart. In the battle against winter, these small acts of preparation became as important as any weapon. Against the siege of winter, ingenuity and wool made the difference, turning a hole in the ground into a lifeline and proving that survival was as much about adaptation as it was about courage. Layering was a life-saving science in winter campaigns. Soldiers wore multiple layers of wool, long underwear, shirts, overcoats, and the blanket was the final crucial layer. Each layer trapped air, creating a powerful thermal barrier. Managing layers prevented sweating, which could freeze and drain body heat. The blanket wrapped around the body, over the coat, forming the ultimate shield. Discipline was key. Loose layers kept air pockets intact, and dry wool meant warmth. Soldiers fluffed and dried their blankets whenever possible. The blanket adapted, serving as a wrap, seat, or sleeping bag. At night, it was the difference between rest and shivering misery. This layered defense, with the blanket at its core, was a soldier's fortress. Against the cold, knowledge and wool worked hand in hand. Survival was stronger together. Soldiers pooled blankets and body heat, huddling in foxholes to create pockets of warmth. Sharing blankets reduced exposed surface area, conserving precious heat. This communal warmth was more than physical, it was psychological, reinforcing bonds and morale. Huddling together turned individuals into a unit focused on mutual survival. Soldiers rotated positions, ensuring everyone shared the burden and the warmth. These moments of shared comfort became powerful memories. Against the impersonal enemy of winter, teamwork and wool were the greatest weapons. The blanket enabled this strategy, making survival possible for the group. The wool blanket was more than a source of warmth. It was a tool for survival. Soldiers used it as a blackout curtain, windbreak, or to shield a comrade lighting a cigarette. It became a makeshift stretcher, sling, or bandage when supplies ran low. Blankets muffled the sound of digging and could smother small fires. They served as camouflage, blending with the earth or snow. The blanket was a carrier, a shield, a curtain, and a solution to countless problems. Its value was defined by the creativity of those who depended on it. In war, necessity turned wool into a tool of endless possibility. The cold attacked not just the body, but the spirit. The wool blanket became a psychological shield, offering comfort in a world of misery. Wrapping up in its folds brought a sense of security and a reminder of order amid chaos. For many, it was the only physical comfort available. Sharing a blanket was an act of camaraderie, a silent promise of mutual survival. This support fostered resilience, making units harder to break. The blanket's warmth was a bulwark against despair and fear. As night fell, it became a final refuge, a small, private space to gather strength. Against the darkness, the blanket was both shield and solace. In the fight for morale, its comfort was a weapon of hope. The story of the wool blanket is a lesson in survival. The best equipment meant nothing without the knowledge to use it. Soldiers learned to adapt, layer, and improvise, turning a blanket into a system not just a cover. This wisdom, passed from veteran to rookie, saved lives. The blanket was the instrument. The soldier's mind was the strategist. True preparedness is about knowledge, not just gear. The men of WWII remind us resilience comes from ingenuity, teamwork, and adaptability. In the coldest nights, it was the human mind and a simple wool blanket that made survival possible.